and that he has a really nice straight arm. You know what I mean? I'm talking talk to the palm type of straight arm where you're my palm reader now and I can get away from you.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another TDN100 discussion. We are going to be focused on the top of the running backs class. TDN100, of course, is our ballots for the top 100 eligible prospects for the 2023 NFL Draft. Our first edition dropped this past week over at the Draft Network. And looking at the running backs in general, this is going to be fun because we know there's some polarizing names on this list for the 7 running backs who made the TDN 100. But the one place there is no controversy, gentlemen, is at RB1. It is Mr. Bijan Robinson from the Texas Longhorns, who was ranked 4th, 5th, 6th, 9th, and 2nd amongst our scouting staff. So I'm just going to throw the name Bijan Robinson out there and let you guys ooh and ah and heap all the praise that we all clearly feel is deserved based on his polling in our ballots.
Nuanced. He's nuanced. He's explosive. He's a pro running back in college, right? And a lot of people, me and Keith talked about it on Talent Factor podcast, there have been comparisons to Saquon, right? Saquon's a different level athlete, I would say. But just the parallels are similar, right? Bijan can catch the ball out of the backfield. He has great vision. He's one of the best, if not the best, cutter in terms of getting to once he gets into the second level and cutting and sifting through the defense and finding those open lanes to turn a 10-yard gain into a 50-yard gain. He has that type of ability, the vision, the patience, the contact balance, the power. He's a total back, man. He is the most complete running back in college football, and that's why he's at the top all by himself. It's alone at the top for Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, I think this is a playmaker at the running back situation, and we haven't had that in a couple years, probably since Saquon Barkley, right? I think everybody here is Bijan Robinson, Texas football, and then they automatically assume, okay, he has a good offensive line. That's not the case at Texas. That offensive line is not very good. It was so many handoffs where he had immediate pressure in his face and he had to evade that first defender. This is a running back that can make wrong plays right, and that's something special. When you know as a quarterback that you can simply hand a football off and this play can possibly go for 50, 60, 70 yards, that's a very good feeling. And the reason Bijan Robinson is that number one is because he's the one guy that we've watched in the past couple of years and we say, you know what? Cut on a film, there's something different about that guy compared to everybody else when he's on the football field.
Yeah, he's a special football player. There's no question about it. And what I love about the eval is that there's just not a lot of questions, right? I mean, he's got size, he's got power, he's got elusiveness, he can catch a football. I love his ability to, like you said there, Keith, make plays right. And I think that's just a testament to the lateral quickness and his ability to gain depth quickly and get to adjacent gaps and get to space where things are kind of congested in front of him. He's just got such a natural feel. He's explosive. What doesn't he offer? Super easy eval, special talent at the running back position.
Easy eval is the best way to put it. What's not easy, though, is finding the consensus behind him, because we have 4 gentlemen on this call from Draft Network's scouting department, and we have 4 different RB2s.
Ooh.
We have Damian Parson, with Tank Bigsby from Auburn at 45th overall as his second-rated balloted running back. Joe Marino. You have Jahmyr Gibbs as your second-rated running back. Excuse me, we have 3 running backs because Keith also has Jahmyr Gibbs at 2, and I have Sean Tucker running back from Syracuse. So I guess Joe and Keith, since you guys both are going to fall on the Jahmyr Gibbs RB2 train together, would love to hear about why you guys feel so strongly polling him 12th and 14th, respectively, for your ballots.
I'm going to go ahead and take it, Joe. And I'm going to take your phrase. I'm sorry. I apologize. But I promise you, I'm going to give you all the credit. And it's a Joe Marino phrase. Bet on the traits, man. This guy was at Georgia Tech. We just talked about Bijan Robinson having to deal with offensive line issues. Multiply that times 10. at Georgia Tech, right? Like this guy, he had no help over there. There's a reason why he transferred out of there, and now he's at Alabama. He's in a situation where he's not going to have to correct everything by himself. He has a Heisman winning trophy quarterback, right? Then he has an offensive line that's maulers up there. We've watched these guys, we've evaluated these guys. All of these guys up front are draft eligible guys. So I'm just looking at this guy being in a situation to where things will be easier for him. The speed, the athleticism, and he also runs with some element of power too. Like, so this is not a small back where, okay, if the safety comes down, he's going to immediately, tackle this guy. This guy has a little bit of oomph to him to where he's not an easy tackle. So I'm buying in on everything I see. I know it's been limited snaps, and that's why my guy Kyle Krabs doesn't want to buy all in yet. But man, I'm pushing my chips all in the middle of the table, and I'm going in.
Yeah. I like dynamic playmakers, man.
I gotta rebut my guy here, and then I want you to follow it up.
Okay.
My primary question with Jameer, and I like Jameer. I'm 36th overall, right? So he polled very well for me. But you mentioned bet on traits. And for Jameer, when I look at the running back position, I don't have the level of confidence that I need to rank him in the stratosphere that you guys do, because he's listed at 195, 200. You can be an aggressive runner and you can challenge tacklers. But if you don't have that frame to back up that component, then I have some questions. And for a guy like Jameer, who hasn't had 200 touches in either of his first 2 seasons in college football, I just don't know how he's going to respond to that kind of wear and tear to translate what you see with some really nice flashes of aggressiveness as a not big-bodied running back trying to physically challenge tacklers. I don't have those answers yet. And that's where the question falls for me with what, Keith, you referenced with betting on the traits, with all of the dynamic play that Gibbs has and some of the physical dynamics that he's capable of complementing that dynamic play with.
I think the word is dynamic. He's a dynamic, explosive playmaker, and it's what he offers in the passing game in addition to being a really, big play back as well with just taking handoffs. But it's the passing game. It's this guy's ability to run routes, to be able to move all over the place, catch the football, run routes, make people miss in space. Like, he just brings that dynamic to the field that I love, in addition to, I think he's a good runner between the tackles. And I know that he doesn't have the frame that you would love for a true banger between the tackles, but the way that he positions himself to take on tackles and make it difficult for guys to get square on him does lead to a lot of success in him navigating tight spaces and winning post contact. And so, he's going to get a chance to prove it this year at Alabama. Might have a little cash down on him as my Heisman pick this year, but I just feel like he's in for a big time season. And I love the way that his skill set can impact an NFL offense.
I'll say this.
Dane, talk to us a little bit about. Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, I tried to go through, a couple different comparisons for Jahmyr Gibbs, right? And we talked about Jamal Charles, we talked about Alvin Kamara, but the one name I settled on and I finally feel comfortable, especially with the role that you talked about, right, Kyle? And that's Aaron Jones, right? Like, what if he is Aaron Jones, and you can go get you an AJ Dillon where you have that thumper in between the tackles, but then you have a efficient running back like Joe said, who's capable of running between the tackles, but you love him on those outside zone plays, and then also you can line him up at receiver. So I think if you paint the picture as far as, for people who haven't watched him yet, if you paint an Aaron Jones-esque type running back, I think that fits really well to who Jahmyr Gibbs can possibly be.
Dane, talk to us about Tank Bigsby a little bit.
Oh, man. Highly touted recruit coming out as a running back, and he earned the name Tank fits him. Like, he's a really hard runner. Like, he's really rocked up top, built well, and you see it. In the SEC, Keith talks about it on the pod all the time. They are the king conference in college football, and you're dealing with a lot of the physical front sevens, and this is a young man who often, we talked about with all these guys, the offensive lines weren't the greatest, and it really shows up in the SEC when your offensive line can't create consistent running lanes, which Auburn couldn't do. But there's games and there's moments where this young man, and for me, I think that his talent, we haven't seen the full workload and full ability of Tank Bigsby. He can catch the ball in the backfield. They just don't throw it to him, right? The quarterback situation has been in flux with Bo Nix and his development. Now you have TJ Finley coming from LSU, who's penciled to be the starter. But I like his ability to work between the tackles. He's got good vision and good footwork to exchange gaps. And when he sees that alley defender, I like a guy that can give you multiple ways to defeat an alley defender, whether that's with footwork and elusivity, or I'm gonna run through you. But he also has the burst to get by guys as well. So I like what Tank Bigsby brings, and he had his first 1,000-yard season. I'm just expecting him to take another step this year, guys, to where he can kind of push himself really in the national spotlight for Auburn.
Well, you guys are talking about playing behind bad offensive lines and not having help. How about what Sean Tucker's been working with at Syracuse, huh? And this dude dropped 1,500 rushing yards and 14 total touchdowns as the only dude on that offense for the Orange. And this is a guy at 5'10", 210 pounds. Kind of has that frame, that frame that I talked about for being a workload type player. And what really surprised me with Sean was the opportunities when he got through the first level of the defense and he gets out into the second level. How many angles he was able to break with the initial explosiveness. I don't think from a long speed perspective he'll test great, but seeing him when he comes into open space and identifies I can open my stride, I can really explode and make defenders wrong as they are closing either from depth from the secondary or linebackers that are scraping horizontally. He made those guys wrong consistently and created a lot of chunk gains because of that. And that's what really excited me about Sean, because you see the yards after contact. He had over 1,000 yards after contact last year, 1,500 rushing yards total, and had over 1,000 after contact. So he's going to break tackles. He's capable of being a workload back. He had 246 carries in 12 games for the Orange last year. And he's very productive. He can hit home runs. And all of that for me builds to a player who might not be as sexy and the highlight reel might not be as crazy as some of the flash plays that you get from some of the other names that we've mentioned, and even like the Zach Evans of the world who transferred to Mississippi. But I know what I'm getting, and I'm going to get a guy you're going to block him 4, and he's going to get 8 or 9, and he's going to fall landing forward because he's going to convert and churn and push the pile and do all those things to really help your offense stay on schedule. And that's what really excites me about Sean Tucker. Anybody have a sleeper they want to throw out here as we get ready to wrap this up?
Zach Evans over in Ole Miss. We talk about highly touted recruits, right? Like, this was one of the best running backs. Keith, you were in recruiting. I'm pretty sure he was the number 1 recruit when he came out at the running back position in some rankings. And this kid is really talented. His skill set and his talent just wasn't the way that things went at TCU. He wasn't able to fully showcase that. Now, as we talk about talent factor, he's on the Lane train now. He's at Ole Miss in that Lane Kiffin offense. He's got a big arm, mobile quarterback with Jackson Dart in the backfield with him, with Ulysses Bentley and some of these other weapons that they have at Ole Miss. Now he's not just the one guy that you got to focus on. Having a quarterback like Jackson Dart can keep defenses honest and allow him a little more wiggle room. And he, like you talked about, you look at his ability to get downhill. He's got good footwork. He actually, I think Kyle, you said he runs bigger than his actual listed size. And I think he has some dynamic ability as well. And I've seen him on tape catch the ball fairly well also. So this is a young man who I think we have not even seen the tip of the iceberg in terms of his actual skill set. So if anybody kind of can jump in that RB2 battle and really plant his flag, I think it could be Zach Evans.
There's certainly a lot of names to look for, and there's merits to be had and sales to be made for all of these guys. And of course, this upcoming year's tape is going to be the most important thing to guide us to where they ultimately land in the final TDN 100. But this was our first edition. Wanted to give everybody a nice foundation for the start of the college football season. Make sure to go over to thedraftnetwork.com to see the full TDN 100 list and take care of all of your football needs this fall.